invasive species is a species that gets transported from an area where it naturally evolves in a community to a new area, and once it's in the new area, it tends to expand and take over and displace and outcompete many of the native species in that area.
It's actually a very interesting question why some species become invasive and not others. My name is Christy Reel, and I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Ecology and Evolutionary Biology. It's actually quite hard to trace a few biological characteristics that predict whether or not a species will become invasive. Clearly doing well around humans, being able to take advantage of human habitations and use human structures, for example, or feed on human-produced resources like agriculture resources, being able to live near roads, near houses, those are things that definitely predispose certain species to become invasive and not others.
Again.
Hi, I'm Dan Rubenstein. I'm the class of 1877 professor of zoology and professor in the Department of Ecology and Evolutionary Biology at Princeton University. So Pheropicus is an invasive species. It comes from nowhere and from everywhere, and it belches fumes and it belches stuff into the atmosphere, and much like its droppings of wildlife. The problem is the droppings of wildlife get recycled, they're often beneficial, they keep the ecosystem dynamics going, whereas the residues from Pheropicus are trash and garbage and lead to harmful effects.
So it's quite well known that this species has invaded every continent. It's one of the most invasive species we know of, and its population numbers are actually growing by the minute. So you can even see one now right there outside of Gio. I think it's resting.
Well, the Pheropicus, when it's well behaved, doesn't cause any problems. It follows the rules, it stops at red lights and stop signs, it obeys traffic signals if it's driven by a good, sensible human being. But when Pheropicus goes wild, it becomes chaotic, and it can have lots of roadkills, it can harm young children, it can end up with road rage and football players being murdered. There's a whole host of issues that come from Pheropicus that gets out of control.
So controlling Pheropicus is actually a huge challenge if you take the individual approach and try to just target one at a time, because they're very large-bodied, they're very heavy, and the carcasses don't really decompose.
Yeah, Pheropicus is now all over the world. There were once places where it didn't exist. Pheropicus can live forever. Go to Cuba, for example. The old cars from the 50s and 60s have been reborn and rejuvenated and keep going, and yet they haven't been replaced by new modern examples. Humans are crafty individuals that can keep Pheropicus even when it's outdated and old and feeble, going and looking young. So it's a persistent nuisance that can cause all sorts of problems, and as it replicates with people, its numbers go up, and it can lead to all sorts of population problems and all sorts of damage to the ecosystem.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
So when an invasive species takes over, people try to eradicate it. They go on campaigns where they try to remove it, they poison it, they cut it.